Hey Maria,
Zach,
what's up?
how are you?
Good. How's your day going?
Oh my gosh, I wish I could go on 12:15. My daughter goes to online school until 11:30. So
Yeah.
after that, we would have a quick lunch. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I could make it. But I'm like, I have three daughters. So I think Zach would just understand if we go with
Of
the
course.
1 p.m.
Yeah. And we booked one for some weird reason. I put it as 12. So I said, oh my God, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
be late. And I had to rush home. And then I'm like,
Yes. Oh
and,
my gosh.
and then my computer had a different time than my phone. So I said, oh God, no problem.
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for extending this invitation.
Thank
I've been since I knew you and Ari, of course,
you.
since James Never Die, and seeing what you have been doing for the city, for everyone else, for everything that's happening in the city. Especially yesterday when George Floyd's murderer was convicted.
Oh my
I
God.
I remember what you have done through the city. So thank you, Zach, for what you do.
And vice versa. Thank you. And thank you for
Mhm.
being there for me personally.
That's a bit touching because it's difficult to lose a parent.
Yeah.
And then when you showed the video of your mom, I think it was during a wedding. It was just so it just hits close to home. There was your mom, your family, and then you sharing in your inner circle that she passed. It it just tugs different strings from me. So I'm like, how can I support Zach? I know we haven't met again in person, but at least someone out there would be at least caring for you and just checking on you is a good thing. So I'm like, I'm just continue to be a friend to Zach in this little way because losing a parent, seeing them getting sick, it's devastating. So I'm glad
No,
I could help you in that
I
little way.
appreciate it so much. And over here, I still have your card right there. It's hanging.
Uh,
So,
well,
no, I looked at my mail late and I saw it and I said, who's this
uh,
from? And I flipped it and I literally had tears in my eyes because I said, oh my
uh,
God, that's so nice. You don't have to do these things, but you do it. And thank you.
I well, thank you. I think when I first met you and you said I'm doing this and I'm gonna share it to the world, and I thought this is really nice. A stranger who hasn't known me, met me for the first time, is doing these things out of his heart, and that was special for me. So reciprocating that throughout these years is it just comes from the heart. The way he took the first step in doing that to me that same night, that same evening when it was so cold, and you and Ari were there taking photos, taking videos.
We had fun.
We did, and I think the highlight of that afternoon was of course seeing Ari because I got to hold him. But then someone like a stranger approaching you and doing these things to share for everyone is just it's I appreciate it. So
Thank you again. Is that
um,
common?
common when you find gems. So there are probably a few persons who would do that, but they have another motive or different intention.
Yes.
But you would immediately know if a person is sincere and would really do this because they just love it or they just want to share to the community. But others has different, agenda, and sometimes it's not for everyone's sake, but for people have their own intentions for themselves primarily. But then if you go beyond that and you would feel the sincerity of a person, that would be way better for me. I welcome it better.
Absolutely. And I think, energy doesn't lie, right?
Yes, yes, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Someone could say one thing, but how they make you feel is what's
It's
most important.
different, right? Because I think the connection between two minds or two sincere hearts, if I could use those words in one sentence, is different.
Mhm.
You know that there's a sincerity and there's something beyond what a person is doing, not just for themselves, but for others.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Are your kids in school right now? Are they back at school, at homeschooling?
So my daughter goes to homeschooling from 9 to 11:30,
Yeah.
only 30 minutes for every hour. And then I have younger two, 4 and 2 years old. So they just play around until the eldest is done. But she's having online fatigue already. She's missing her friends, missing the physical school. So we're still in the home run. I told her it's almost there. We're almost there for the summer
We're
break.
so close.
Yeah.
It's been hard up and down mentally.
It is. I think for adults, it's hard to cope what's happening, but for kids, for their level of maturity and for how they would see things turn upside down in one day, one night, and then going to online school in a zap, and then doing this for another 10 months, you have to commit to it. It's taking its toll on the children. I've been talking to her teachers, and they said if they have to take a mental day, go ahead and do it. But how would a mental day work if you're not really motivated to do things right? Adults can do that. They could adapt because they know they have responsibility, they have commitment. But kids, their job is just to play, to learn, to have fun.
To be
And when you're
kids, yes.
yes, and when you're not having that through their Google class, through their assignments that they have to do every day and commit to this learning, it's not fun anymore when you don't have friends to play with.
No, for sure. Is it hard with your hubby and yourself to focus on work, focus on life, and then the kids?
It's we I think we had a good share of how to deal with it because he works with Alberta Health, so he's
Okay.
still ongoing. Me, I was on mat leave until I was about to return March, and then of course
Okay.
COVID happened. But then I think it was a blessing in disguise for how many years that I've been working like full time in oil and gas and then doing balloons at the same time. I finally had the time to slow down, but then you had this leisure of time to slow down and treasure every moment. But you, at the back of your mind, you have to think of ways, how would we survive this? How should I go about for the next quarter, for the next year, for the next 2 years? So still navigating on that a year after this all happened, it's still thriving on better things to do, right? So
Do you miss your
until these
job?
things, oh my gosh, yes, because for how many years of my life, it's the only thing that I did. When I migrated to Canada almost 10 years ago, it's the first thing that I did until I got laid off due for COVID. So I missed it. I think I spent a good 6 months recovering on how my identity will be because I'm just stuck doing planning and scheduling. And now, though, of course, everyone would say, yeah, you have time for your kids, you have time to do this for yourself, you have time for balloons, but aligning what I should do
Yeah.
from what I have identified myself with for the past how many years is difficult. It was a journey for myself, but today I'm settled with what I want to do moving forward and just hoping what could lead me throughout the year or the next year.
Did the pause help you become more creative in your balloon work or in creative in terms of, well, how do I grow this business now that this is going to be my sole income, not my
Correct.
secondary?
Yes. Well, the good thing is when I started balloons on the side when I was working full time is that I have this list of things to do that I wanted to accomplish, and those were just wish list, bucket list plans that I had. And now that I had the pause, I had the time to go back to that list and say, oh, okay, maybe I should do this because I have the time. I should plan for this because I have the time. So I was grateful that I had that list, that I was creative at that time and had all these ideas in my head, but now I had the resources of time to actually execute. So yes, but it was difficult to start with. You get anxious, you get stressed out. All of the events planned out for 2020 evaporated in
That's what
a
I mean.
day, a week. It
Birthdays,
like
even
all
small
of the
birthday
events,
parties.
all yes, all of the say we had a baby shower right before the lockdown, and then everything has been paid for, everything has been arranged, and then of course no one is in control of it. So I had to return the money out of goodwill. I appreciate if I were the client, I would appreciate that. No service has been given. There was just admin work and just booking and then design stuff. But if I would put myself in my client's shoe, definitely I would give the money back. It's just fair. Business wise, probably it's not a good move, but I think during this time, would money be, a driving force instead of compassion? Instead of, you're pregnant, you'd have a party, and now it's done. And then all of the emails coming in were just everything red: cancellation, postponement, fixing stuff for how many months. So I'm like, this is what I could do for the first 6 months, adjusting. And then when I had a clearer mind, and then when I was less stressed and actually breathe it all in, I'm like, okay, what should we do next? It's game time. So that's why I started to do things that I love. Started giving out balloons to people who don't have money to do birthdays.
Right.
Donated balloons to kids who were celebrating birthdays at their home. No one would see them. So it's just going back to why I started, just making people happy.
Yeah. And the bottom line is, I think people will remember, right? They remember how you make them feel, and they'll always remember you when the good times are around. So when the bad times are there, and if you're there for people, I think it goes a long way.
That's just nice to hear, Zach. I think that's very important during this time because everyone has their own, lives. We understand that. But out of the blue, if someone just remembers or just knows what you like or just one moment that made your day better, definitely remembering a person is a treasure you would keep forever. Like at one point, someone just made something, a little something that made your day better. And that is thing to go back to when days are done.
And that's probably where your years of planning and all that come in play. You have all these schedules and calendars and dates.
Oh yes, correct. I've been living, so my career is planning, scheduling. I write everything down to remember things. I schedule everything out. I have short-term plan, long-term plan, and then feelings sometimes they get set aside when you plan things objectively. But then I make it to a point that, okay, you have a plan, but that does include the people that are closest to you. Does that include the people who help you from day one? Does that include the people who help other people? If you help those people, they could ripple more for what they have if you help them from the backside. So that's what I started doing. It's they say, Maria, just run a charity and not run a business. And I'm like, you know what? The money rolls in after. The goal of the business, of course, is to be sustained by money so that you can keep doing it. But what is the sense of having a business if you're not making people happy, right?
No? Or yourself, if it's all about money, if it's only money.
Yeah, you would never. Honestly, during the first 2 years of my business, I was just selling party kits. So it's just $50, $80, $100.
Is that where your name came from? Calgary Party 50?
Yes. So I just wanted a quick name that I could put together, and at $50 you could have a small party. So it's just for busy moms. Take the bin, put everything in, they would pick it up and then return. There's rentals in it so that it's just, all the convenience that you can have. And my goal was like, I want to sell this much. I want to do this much. But then I realized, why did I even start this? Because I want mothers to be happy. I want them to save. I want them to do a nice celebration with just $50. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I started to reflect and say, this is not feeding me. This is just bringing me stress. I go home from work, prepare 5 bins for 5 mothers on one Saturday, and I'm exhausted. And then it doesn't bring me joy. So when I went back to the whiteboard, as to say, plan things out. What do I love to do? So I remember when I was young, I loved balloons. And when I was in university, we sold balloons for fundraising. Like, okay, let's do balloons. And then it was just a good thing that Beakerhead had that invitation for artists to do installations. I'm like, why should I not get a shot at this?
Was that your first experiential?
Yes. So Beakerhead in 2017 was the 150th birthday for Canada. So we had, I think Beakerhead had funding coming from the federal government to the provincial and then to the city. And then through through the charity, they have this budget to do big installations around the city. And they said, okay, what's in your mind, Maria? And I'm like, I want to do this, but it's going to be my first time. I know how to do it, but I need this three expertise. So we had structural person, we had program manager for events, and then because we were eyeing for a building that would be accessible to everyone. We planned out in February, but we only had that building in August, the Legion #1. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is scary at the same time because it's a long sea train and we don't want to disrupt the sea train. If a balloon, goes rogue and then would disrupt the sea chain, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want that to happen. So we mitigated that with tying the balloons individually instead of doubles, and making sure everything's secure. So thankfully, it was successful. The weather was cooperative, and then people enjoyed it. And it was, I think, a smooth run because Beakerhead has been run by great program managers, great, wonderful minds over there that meeting science, engineering, and art was, I think, an avenue that I could express my creativity while being an engineer at the same time.
The first exhibition or the first piece that you had done publicly, it was Ode of
it's nucleation and ode to bubbles.
There we go.
If you remember the Bubble Man, he was along 7th Ave making our commute very magical. He would blow balloons by the sea train during rush hour in the morning, and at night he would offer laser shows. It was amazing until that block was, I think, bought, and then they have to leave that building. So during that time, it was they had this conversation: should we put the balloons in there at that side of the building? But then it was next to be for demolition. It was up for demolition that time, 2017. Still up until now. I don't know what's happened, but Beakerhead had the idea, why don't we do the Legion? It's iconic. Yeah. It's a 2-story. We should check what the rooftop looks like. We did, and it was awesome. We went to this dark vent, loud, cold, all the scary stuff, horror stuff that you could imagine, just to get to the rooftop because it's a 100-year-old building.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very old building. It's scary to be in those vents.
What an experience, though, eh?
It was a great experience. And then it was fall, I think the second or third week of fall. And you would have these great winds. And I realized, the forecast is great, don't worry. But then by the time you were to put up the balloons, the wind gusts were about 40 kilometers per hour. We can install the balloons. So we were around two hours behind schedule. So we ended up at midnight because I was adamant not to install during daytime. So that will be a surprise in the morning. So we had it up at midnight, but during those wee hours of the morning, there was lots of winds and rain. So it was looking not so nice during the morning. We had to do a facelift. So by showtime at 4 p.m., it was wonderful. And I realized, oh my gosh, my dream just came true. Like in that moment when you're so exhausted, but then you will see the result. And everyone was just staring, taking photos, and just stops at their tracks to see the balloons. It's an immaculate feeling. It was a team effort. And my project manager, Sharon, at the time, Sharon Canhoff, was so nice to be with. It's like, Maria, we did it. We did it, Maria. So that was a nice moment for me. I would not forget about that, and it will be my the best memory that I would have, since if they would ask if I have any favorite, that would still be my favorite any day. Yeah.
We met at the former Enoch House.
Yes, we did.
Former because for the listeners, it burnt down.
That was unfortunate. It was a very sad day. It was burned down to the ground, and then later on, it was the dead of winter. And then second day, it was gone. You go to the site, no trace. Could you imagine how big of a Victorian house that was? And
Oh,
then
it was
just
beautiful though, wasn't it?
it was. I thought CMLC would have plans for that, but during the time when we were exploring that option for Beakerhead, they didn't have any plans at the time. So they said just use the home. We also went to the tour. That was also an interesting tour. We went inside.
Yeah.
Of course, it's pretty broken into, but you would see the charm in the wallpapers, the details of the flooring, the stairs. It's nice. I could imagine how it was like back in the olden days.
It's history, and Calgary's history is so young. So I believe things like that need to be protected in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least let's not be so sad. There are other historical buildings surrounding
Yes.
downtown, around the city, and there might be opportunities for that to incorporate art. But at least we had a swan song, according to Mary Ann Moser, when the building burned down. At least it had its swan song. One last beautiful dance back in Beakerhead, where
Yes.
everyone had this bright photos, even if it's -1, if it's foggy, it's raining, people came out. So
I remember
good memories of
it
that
was a
one.
cold time there, and you were there every day, all day long. Balloons pop, you're right there putting another one up.
Yes, it's a commitment. And during that time, I was working full time, and then I took a leave, vacation leave for 2 days when we set the balloons up. So it was also an important time back at work. It was budget season, and I have this big presentation coming up and needing changes. And I was pregnant at that time.
Oh
I
my,
was 12 weeks pregnant. So I shifted from morning meetings,
yeah.
changing presentations, and then by 4 p.m. going to Enoch House. And then I went to an ultrasound appointment for my, I think, 12-week appointment, and then came back after an hour. And then we had this clicker to do statistics to see at least how many people came. And one afternoon, just from like 5 to 7 p.m., 1,700 people came, and I was emotional. I was crying because I was pregnant. No, no, I used the pregnant card, but I was just emotional because it was cold. Kids were coming. Kids were in their raincoats. People were coming, taking photos. Everyone was patient, taking their turns to take photos and have this beautiful space around them. It was beautiful.
I remember how polite people were. They would wait. Someone would go take a picture. They'd come back, and it was nice. And there was no formal lineup. It was just
Nothing.
Calgarians were organized then.
They were, and then there was also a lady who came in playing the music from Up, and I was so happy to see her there, just taking videos. And there was also a group of photographers who had this nice. They had the ladder and then helium balloons to do that effect, and you were there. I'm like, oh
That's
my
when I was
gosh,
there. Yes,
yes,
watching
yes, I
them do it.
remember.
Yeah.
Right. And these people are lots of creatives in the city. They would think of that. I haven't thought of that. They did. They just came there, did their thing, made this nice, cool shot of a photo, and it's amazing.
Where did you come up with the idea to say, "Hey, let's make this the Up House"?
So every year at Beakerhead, once the festival is done, you would have this short amount of time after September, October, November, December, January, February, where you can send all your bucket list, all your ideas for the next festival of the year, for the next year. And then I had this list. So every time we would convene and say, okay, can we do this? Can we do that? So I had this proposal, and then we were wanting to do several options. But then when we picked that option that should go for 2018, at the middle of everything, Cleopatra, the program manager for Beakerhead, had an idea. Maria, what do you think of the Up House? And there was chill on my up from my hands to my spine. Do you know why? I think everyone loved the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But then when I came to Canada and had my first iPhone, the first album that I bought was from the movie Up, because I just loved that movie. And that was 2011. And that was, I think, 7 years after when I did the Up House. And I told her, why did you think of the Up House? Maria, because it's just balloons. And then you said you made your dreams come true when you were young, when we did nucleation. So this is just a tie up to the story of making your dreams come true. And I'm like, let's do that. Let's do that. And it was a collaboration between the Beakerhead Council and then myself and how we would execute. We had another house actually for that one, which is McHugh. It's another home right at 17th and Center Street that the city moved from one place to the next so that it won't be demolished. And that was the first option for that project. But then when CMLC and Beakerhead had the conversation to use the Enoch Sales house, I knew it was the perfect pairing because it's just the location, the color, the space, and the parking lot next to it was convenient for people to come. It was, I think, a culmination of great things happening.
It was perfectly executed, wasn't it? Parking lot itself, where it was in the heart of downtown, but it's this little yellow house.
Yes, and then you can, and if you didn't have the chance to go, you can just drive by it.
Yeah.
Which I would share something. So that night when we were finishing up the balloons, there was a lady who came. Her name is Lacey, and then her dad. She said, we were just driving by. We're from US. We were doing a trip in Banff with my dad. But I saw this and I had to park and just see what were you doing. And I said, oh yeah, this is a festival. You can come tomorrow. It's showtime. It's all over the city. You can visit other sites. And she said, no, I just wanted to see the balloons. And then came the Beaker man in spacesuit. He's the mascot for Beakerhead. And Lacey said, oh my God, this can't be real. I'm like, why? My dad, who sits in the parking lot, he works for NASA. And we were stunned. And then why don't you call him? Call him over. So he was there and shared that he was part of some missions for Mars. He's retired. That's why he's in a long road trip. But one thing struck to me when he said, the wonders that people can do just amazes him. But he said, and I said, I am amazed with what you're doing because you're from NASA. This is Beakerhead. We have this spaceman in a suit. And this is just a nice, gathering of random people. But then he said he was in Banff and he feels like he's just one dot in the universe that God created. And I realized what a big statement from a person who did so much at NASA, who visited Banff and he thinks he's just one dot in this universe. It was inspiring how you could meet people randomly and you would just take a part of what they say, take them with you. It's amazing.
They're right here with you, right? And you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were just driving by. They were not meant to be there. They were just, they came from Banff that morning, coming from the US doing a road trip.
You not only hit locally, but you went nationally and internationally through the news, actually. It was a big story.
So continuing to that week at Dreams Never Die, yes. I think on the fourth day, there was a Girl Scout, mint cookies. They sell those cookies every for the Girl Guide cookies. And I got one bag, went to Beakerhead office and said, this is for everyone's snacks because everyone was busy juggling through. It was the vibe that everyone would have during Beakerhead week. It's a lot of things happening. And then when I came in the office, they were clapping. I'm like, why? Maria, we made it to national. What does that mean? We made it national. And then everyone took their phones, scrolled into the Explorer, and everything was just the house, endless scrolling, house. And I didn't have any idea because I was at work doing all those meetings. I was busy doing the corporate stuff until I went to the Beakerhead quarters in the afternoon. And I told them, no, this is not me. Don't congratulate me. This is for everyone. We did this together. And Mary Ann Moser said, Maria, you're in the center of the magic. And there's just lots of beautiful moments that I had at Beakerhead that I take it to heart because I volunteered for Beakerhead, told them when I first did projects. I don't need money. I just want you to help me make my dreams come true. So, but they had artist fee. So that was a nice thing to have. But just to make your dreams come true and a battalion of people, of experts to help you is a gift to me. I cherish.
Priceless, isn't it?
It is. It is. They're amazing. They're amazing. All the people at Beakerhead, all their volunteers, and what they do for the city, for everyone, for the kids throughout those school year programs. They're great.
Maria, you strived for your dreams, you planned it well, and you continue to do so. What are some words of inspiration that you could give to people today that are sometimes pondering or struggling to go for their dreams?
Wow, that's a great question, Zach. It's a big responsibility to give words of wisdom, because I think I do not have a lot, but I could say from experience, just hold on to the dream. And it doesn't need to have giant steps towards it. You can start in baby steps. And if you find avenues, just go for it, because people will be there. Always ask for help, because help doesn't come unless you would say, I need help. And that takes humility. Yeah. And definitely remember the people from day one. I think when I was selling balloons back in university, my classmates would carry bags and bags of balloons with me. And lately we had this call for everyone else to see. And they're the same people that have been my friends for over 20 years. And they've been cheering on me. So if I didn't have those support back 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people helping me, I wouldn't be so full of a sport that I could move forward bravely with whatever I do, because I know I love what I do, and I do this to make people happy and to make me happy. Mm-hmm. So when you chase your dreams, I know it's self-fulfillment, right, but you have to also put in your intention. Is this just for me, just to make me happy? Or it's just for me to make others people happy, or me helping someone make other people happy? It just ripples. You need to check your intentions well, because I've been in situations where I thought of myself 100%. I never have thought of what's the next step, and it failed. It would fail, and it would just slap me back on my face and say, "Oh yeah," because you forgot what's the essential thing. Is that when you help, you make people smile. And when you have this clear intention just to deliver what you really wanted, not just for yourself, it must be for someone else all the time.
That's the intentions you need to focus on. Okay. Did you, when you look back at your childhood, is your dreams, have they come true? And what made you fall in love with balloons specifically? Yeah. What makes you happy of balloons? Let's say that.
Okay. So in the Philippines, it's a religious country. We go to mass every Sunday. But for an 8-year-old who gets bored for an hour of mass, honestly, my highlight of the mass would just be picking a treat after. So in churches, you would have toys. You have vendors selling toys, food, treats outside the church. And in our church, there was a balloon man. They were selling balloons. And I would always pick, okay, my goal for this week is a red balloon. I would not buy any food. I would not buy a cotton candy. I would not buy any snack. I would just get a red balloon. But then, so my father buys that for me. And then you would have the experience of having it anchored to your wrist, and your only responsibility is not to let it fly. So that joy that I had since I was young, I want to replicate that for someone else. So every birthday, definitely you would have a balloon. But then every birthday, you're made to feel special, you're made to feel happy, etc. So if I remember, all of my birthdays were special. It's either my mom would have someone bake a cake for us, or my aunties would give us this nice big cake full of icing that you would love, and you would you would say, I would have the corner because you would have all the icing, the royal icing that you would that you can eat as a
What's
chef.
one of the
So
cakes?
I remember.
What's one of the cakes from the Philippines? It's purple and has coconut in it. So good. Purple.
Oh, everything that is ube from the
There we go.
Philippines is amazing. Yes, ube. I should take note that you like that because there's a certain bakery here in Calgary that does that, and it's really good. I should send you one.
I think we went to one and picked it up for somebody from the Northeast. It's in the Northeast. There's a bakery.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. It's in a little plaza.
It's so good. Yes.
Good. I think it was in Marlborough area.
It's so good.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, it should be, but it's really good.
It is, yeah. Maria, just to finish off here, I know we got to get going. If someone's going to have I don't even know if I can even say it now, gathering.
Yeah.
If someone wants to follow you on Instagram or get a hold of you to maybe purchase some balloons or some design consultation or experience, how can they do so?
Oh, they can just email balloons@calgary50.ca,
okay.
Or they could just DM and we would send an email link where we could discuss things. We still have gatherings though, so it will be just intimate ones for like only families, or if they would have a drive-by still happening these days. And then for events, mostly outdoors, we could still do that. But definitely, we have one collaboration coming up. We started this in 2018. It's with Crave. We deliver balloons and cakes and cupcakes so that people can celebrate, people can surprise their loved ones. And for every large one, we donate a set of cake mix, frosting, sprinkles, and candles to the Happy Birthday Project.
Wow,
so that has
so
been
nice.
the charity I've picked. Oh, thank you. That has been the charity I've picked since I started the business. And I've committed to send in at any amount since then. And then when there's a big project coming in, always allocate to donate something for the Happy Birthday Project under Made by Mama this time.
Thank you so much for your time today, Maria.
Oh, you're very welcome, Zach. I truly love chatting with you. I love what you do for the city, and you inspire me with your daily postings. I love to look at them. And you have to have motivation at the start of your day.
Yes.
And to have those, to read that, and something that you could connect to every day to start what you're about to do sets the mode. So thank you for what you share every day, Zach.
And thank you for doing what you do in the city and being a true friend. Thank you, Maria.
Oh, you are a good friend, Zach. Thank you so much.